Okay, here's the under dash, and that port that we're looking at right there is the OBD2 port, the onboard diagnostics port, and onboard diagnostics 2. And the end of your scan tool has the exact same fitting. One of these pins, I don't actually know which one, but one of those pins is actually a power wire. And so when you plug this thing in, your tool automatically gets power. However, it also needs to be able to communicate to the vehicle. And in order for that to occur, you have to turn your key to accessory. Don't start your engine, however, because you're then communicating to the tool with live data. And you don't actually want live data. You just want to find out what the stored codes are. Let's look at the dash here and see what kind of Christmas tree this thing has. Try and get a shot without glare. There we go. A little bit of sawdust on the dash. What do you know? Okay, there's accessories. There's my Christmas tree. Notice a whole bunch of the lights did go out. I'm trying to make sure I'm sort of half decently focused. On the left side there, I do have a door ajar. Dad joke of the day, it's not a jar, it's a door. Okay, moving on. Engine light, there we are. Okay, so let's find out what that is. The one issue too with the engine light is that you may have multiple codes and not actually know, because it doesn't have multiple engine lights, it just got one engine light. So we plug that in. Our screen has gone live here. Is that showing up? Okay, so it's auto linking. This tool is actually pretty nice because it basically communicates to the vehicle all by itself. Some vehicles you have to go through this great big menu and type in all sorts of stuff to identify the vehicle. This one auto syncs or auto links. There, is that? I hope that's showing. So I have a P0480. And that's a cooling fan circuit. I've had that code for a while. Basically, when you turn your air conditioning on a lot of vehicles, when you turn your air conditioning on, it automatically turns on your electric cooling fan. And that's because the air conditioner compressor puts extra load on the engine, and there's extra drag on the crankshaft. And so the that extra load makes the engine work harder, which means it's going to run a little hotter. Also, the presumption is that you're turning the AC on in the summertime when it's hot. So if you've got a vehicle operating in the heat and you put extra load on the crankshaft, then it makes sense to turn the cooling fan on. My AC doesn't work any longer, but it was still trying to turn on under certain circumstances. So I pulled the relay so that it can't turn on, so that it never operates. However, the rest of the engine system doesn't know that, and so when the relay is missing, the AC won't turn on, but it also won't allow the fan to turn on under that circumstance, so that throws a code. So not too worried about that code. I know what it is. And notice that it says DTC severity 2 out of 3, and this is where you kind of have to know your issue, right? 2 out of 3 is it's a medium issue. Well, if your engine's overheating and the fan doesn't turn on, that is kind of a medium issue, or maybe it's actually a 3 out of 3 issue. However, the fan does turn on when the temperature sensor tells it to, so the engine doesn't overheat, so we're good. Notice that beside the P0480, it says 1 out of 3, which means that there's 3 codes. So down here at the DTC button, I'll push that one and we'll scroll down to the next code. And this is a P0137, and that's an oxygen sensor, low circuit. I do have a faulty oxygen sensor on this thing. It's not reporting quite correctly. And it might seem a little hypocritical that a shop teacher should have a vehicle with all these lights on. As you know, I am not putting money into this vehicle. I'm shopping for a replacement truck as we speak. And so I'm just not fixing this. the engine runs. I'm having a slight loss of fuel economy due to that, but the repair would cost more than the fuel I'm using, so I'm going to skip that one. And then we have, again, a cooling fan control circuit. So the first code, if I go back to that, was with regards to the control circuit of the fan. The fact that the circuit is open, meaning the switch isn't turning on. Then we've got the O2 sensor fault. And then we've got, again, a second fan code. Some of these codes are related in a lot of cases. So you might see, oh my goodness, I got 5 codes. Well, those 5 codes might all come from one thing. And if you look at my BMW video about the wheel speed sensor, you'll know what I'm talking about. One little sensor sets off 5 lights on that vehicle. So it's not 5 faults, it's 5, well, it's 5 faults, but they're all rooted in one fault. But basically, this is what your code reader does. Now, this thing can't fix anything, but it does give me a P code. So now what I can do is go to the internet and I look up year, make, and model. Okay, so I'm going to do a search very specifically. 2004 Dodge Dakota P0480. And then we'll see what kind of hits I get. And you'll get all kinds of hits. What you want to do here, a couple things that'll help you narrow your information, is find out how long the production run of your vehicle actually took place. What do I mean by that? Well, this particular run of Dodge Dakota started in 04 and went to 08. And so if I search by 04, I might not get accurate hits, or I might get a hit that says in 06 Dakota. Well, that doesn't mean that I should disregard that information immediately. Find out if it's got the same V6 engine and the same 4x4 drivetrain, then it's essentially the same truck. It's just it's just 2 years newer. And in a lot of cases, those faults will still all match, which means the solutions will still match. Okay, so look for that. The other thing you want to look for is what I will call cousin vehicles. So the Dodge Dakota has a cousin, and it's the Durango, which is kind of a hybrid, halfway between sport utility and halfway between minivan and halfway between truck kind of thing. Identical drivetrain. Okay, if you take the box off of a Dakota and close it all in like the back end of a van, you have a Durango. So if you have a vehicle that has a cousin, and a lot of vehicles do, then you can do searches and you might not find a repair specifically to your vehicle, but you might find one that matches the cousin vehicle, which basically means that the repair will match your vehicle anyways. And those are really handy things to know when you're searching for a repair or a guide for a repair. Okay. So yeah, now I can proceed. I can go hunting with that code. I can look for possible cures. And then I can decide, do I want to challenge this repair myself, or do I want to take it into the shop? But it at least gives you a head start. Specifically, if I had a misfire, this code would tell me on the tool, it would tell me which cylinder is misfiring. And that's really handy, because then you can figure out what your firing order is or what your cylinder identity is on the vehicle, and you know exactly which ignition coil and spark plug to look at. And those are the 2 cheapest things to fix if you have a misfire. I'm not going to give you a percentage of how many times that's what it is, but it's a pretty high percentage. And if you go and take your car into a garage, it's the first thing a tech is going to look at. And they might not even test the coil. They'll throw a brand new spark plug and a brand new coil in and then test it again. And so if the fault is something else, if there's something else in the wiring harness somewhere, or if there's some weird computer glitch or whatever, the tech is going to do that first step anyways. And then you're going to be charged garage rates for labor and garage rates for parts and HST on top of that. So you can certainly do the coil and spark plug yourself. And then if the fault continues to persist, then you can take the vehicle into a garage, but just make sure that you explain, hey, it's got a brand new coil and a brand new spark plug. So don't let them go and hang those parts in there a second time. And at least you get a head start on the repair, and you save yourself a little bit of money. And also you demonstrate that you have some level of competency. And again, the garage is less likely to, you know, give the runaround to somebody that looks like they know what they're talking about a little bit. All right, so there is a code reader. I'm going to demonstrate a misfire fault in another video, and then I'll show you how I test coils without actually testing the coil. Well, we're going to test the coil, but maybe not the way you think.